So good evening. We are opening the Sausalito Marin City School Board for April the 2nd, 2020 at 5:35 p.m. And this is a time for individuals who may be piped in to make a comment on any of the items that is on our closed session. We will not be able to comment on them. And if you are going to do that, if you can just use the Zoom function to raise your hand, that would be great. And our tech person, I believe that's Dr. Garcia tonight, or Steve Ayala, will pipe you in. Thanks.
Nobody raised their hand, so I think we are good to recess into closed.
Thank you so much. And so we are going to go into close, and we will come back on this line. Thank you. We're being recorded?
We are.
Yes, okay. So we are returning from our closed session at 7:14 p.m. And into this session, and there is nothing to report out. I'm going to ask that you join me in saying a pledge of allegiance. I got my little flag here, if you can see it. You'll just follow me in it. Appreciate it. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag.
of the United
United States of America,
And to the
and to
republic
the
and
republic
to the republic
for which it
for which
stands,
it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty and justice.
liberty and justice for all.
Hoorah! Dr. Garcia.
Yeah, might seem odd to do a moment of mindfulness over Zoom, but I will invite everyone to just take a brief moment and take the traditional 3 deep breaths that I ask everyone to take, and just hold everybody in the community, whether they're healthy or they're fighting COVID-19 or trying to stay safe from COVID-19. Just invite everybody during this moment of taking 3 deep breaths to hold everybody in their minds. And this community has rallied together in a tremendous way, and we are going to get through this together. And so if I can invite everybody to breathe together in that spirit 3 times, please begin. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any part of the agenda that you want to reorganize at this time? I think everybody on the board microphone is on, and so hearing no reorganization, we're going to move on.
So I move approval of the agenda.
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I know this is all new for us. It's a new medium, and the very first meeting online, virtually by Zoom. So bear with us, please. This is a time for board communications.
I want to say, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to say how proud I am and grateful to all of the people who are making meals available to our kids and who are stepping up to the plate of online learning. I mean, it's just really overwhelmingly wonderful and impressive, and the leadership that has been shown by Toko and Principal Fanan and Jamir Reynolds, and it's just really quite outstanding and beyond the call of duty. So I thank you.
That's awesome. Other communications. I would just like to pipe in and say that after the governor made his press release, and then Superintendent of Schools, Tony Thurman, came and he spoke, and he also put a communication out that I can really, feel how difficult that decision was. There was someone who spoke on the news last night, and I want to say that they were from the school board association, who said that schools are going to have to begin to think things differently after this COVID-19 is lifted. And it may mean that schools might have to offer classes on Saturdays, or they may need to start earlier in the year, or they may need to consider doing year-round schools. And I just kind of wanted to put that out there. I know it's very early on right now, but those are things that I'm hoping that our superintendent and our executive staff and our staff and all the workers within our school will just take into consideration. So we're going to move on. This is the part of the agenda that talks about acknowledgements, and I didn't see any that were listed, Itoko, so I'm assuming that they're, unless you have something to acknowledge, given the past several weeks of what we've been going through.
Yeah, I would like to give a similar acknowledgement to the one that Trustee Turner and you both gave. There has been a really courageous response of a call to serve from all of our staff. This executive cabinet that we have, although we are small, has been here every day, making sure that the district is operational, that we can meet our obligation to serve food. We've had a tremendous response from some of our CSEA staff who have also been here with us every day, keeping us operational. Our teachers are working very, very hard with all of our students. And you'll hear an update from Principal Fanan, I believe, at some point here. And, it is a tremendous amount of work to go from basically 0 to 100 miles an hour. We had talked a week before the shutdown about creating plans for a shutdown. And then a week later, we were announcing a shutdown. And teachers are really interfacing with students and families in a tremendous way. A big acknowledgement to our food service staff, to our chefs, to our custodians. Our custodians are having to clean everything every 10 or 15 minutes to follow these new sanitation guidelines, since there are people here still in our building. There's a tremendous amount of community volunteers that have come out. We're distributing food to all of the families in Marin City that go to Bayside MLK, that go to Tam High, that go to Willow Creek. Any kid 18 and under is eating free from our food service. And, the folks from Conscious Kitchen and Chef G, there's a really beautiful community collaboration happening right now. We've gotten volunteers from all over the county to help with our food pantry. And we couldn't do it without everyone pulling together, and really, quite a time of crisis. And so I do want to acknowledge all of those efforts and all the goodwill and all of the kind of really improvisation that is happening to make things happen in our community.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. So we're going to move along, and this brings us to oral communication. This is a time that the public, you're welcome to give comments on anything that is not on the agenda at this point. And if you're going to do that, as Dr. Garcia had mentioned earlier, there's a button that you can just, so oral communications, if you plan to speak, just give that little, is it a thumbs up, Itoko? Give that thumbs up, and then your microphone will be turned on, as well as your camera, if you so choose to have the camera on.
It is
Please
a thumbs
state your
up.
name.
It is a thumbs up, or you can raise a hand as well if you're on an iPad.
I'll raise a hand. And please state your name for the record.
Also, if you click on the participant list at the bottom, on the bottom screen, of your Zoom, you'll see a list of participants on the right-hand side, and you'll see a button that will allow you to raise a hand over there too. So both ways will let us know that you want to comment, and we are monitoring that actively. And if somehow we miss you, please use the group chat function and send us a message, and we'll be responsive that way as well.
Batoko, how many, I know we have 5 trustees, you and Tarina. How many other kind of staff members, if you will, are on this? I see Steve. I'm just wondering how many members of the public there actually are.
Robert Clark, his staff.
Yeah.
Looks like 11 members of the public.
Okay. Actually, it's got to be fewer. I only see 17 participants.
Yeah, I think it's more like 1, 2,
9.
3, 4,
Yeah.
5,
I
6.
didn't count.
Okay.
I think 7. I don't know what CTA is. Oh, that's Louis. Yeah,
Yes.
I only see 7 on my list, but
Yeah, Louis counts as staff too. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
okay. Well, no comments. We can move on, right?
Yep.
I did see one hand raise.
Okay.
So we have a comment from Jamie Whittington, and Steve is going to unmute Jamie and turn on her video now so she can make a comment.
Oh, I see the hand. Got it.
Uh-huh.
Jamie, you're unmuted. Would you like to make a comment?
Since nobody else was saying anything, I just wanted to thank you guys for what you're doing. I think it's awesome, and we're out here and we're watching, and we are really appreciative of how much effort is going into the district. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Are there any others, Itoko?
I don't believe so. I don't see any other pending reactions.
I think if you raise your hand, you might have to unraise it, or it'll constantly be up. There you go.
Okay.
Thanks for that. We're going to move along. This brings us to 6.01 map data. It's an information placer. So was there something here, Itoko?
Yeah, David was going to give an update on the map data that he presented last time, and I'm reaching out to him, but I don't see him on the call. I don't see a response here. Okay, thank you. So Steve shared with me that David, although he had a best intention to give a map data presentation, was unable to pull it together, and so we'll invite him back to present next time on map progress, because that's actually the last data point we're going to have this year.
Okay, is that the same for the following item, PK through 3 goal progress?
Yes and no. Andrea is also not here, but I actually do have the information and can give you an update on the PK through 3 goal process. Although I missed it in acknowledgement and specifically naming her, I want to give a big appreciation to Andrea as well. She has been coming into the school site and working from home. And she has done a mighty job in getting our new PK through 3 grant fully written, and it was submitted today. And because of all that work, I know that I can give you an update on the progress, because it's part of the submission of the new grant. And I also want to say that we were given some extra time from MCF to submit this grant, and it was used really well. And I just want to give Andrea a big appreciation, and so I'm going to give the update in her place.
Okay, and before you do that, Itoko, I forgot to just open up to the public on the 6.01 if there was anybody who wanted to make comments on that. So just wants to just roll back before we move forward. If there's anybody, if Steve, if you guys can see, is there anyone who have comments on 6.01?
Seeing no hands raised and no thumbs.
Thank you. So if you can report for us on 6.02, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be very happy to. And let's see here. Steve, if you'd allow me to share my screen, that would probably help. But I'll start talking while we work that out. So some key accomplishments in PK through 3 goals. Up until the 18-19 school year, Bayside MLK and our pre-K partners had what's probably best characterized as an inconsistent relationship with the pre-K through 3 initiative. The participation was actually discontinued in the 17-18 school year. However, starting during the 18-19 school year and continuing during the 19-20 school year, the MLK staff and pre-K partners have really begun to deeply engage in the pre-K through 3 work. Key accomplishments to date have been implementing consistent cultures of caring in each program, addressing equity across each school program, and ensuring equitable practices are in place in all classrooms, supporting training in and assessment of high-quality instructional practices pre-K through 8. Our staff and our pre-K partners have attended pre-K through 3 trainings pertaining to implementing and sustaining cultures of caring campus-wide. And BMLK has developed a strong relationship with Seneca through the implementation of an unconditional education program on our campus. In particular, our school climate has seen a really positive transformation thanks to the work with pre-K through 3 and Seneca. And our partners are also spending a great deal of time ensuring that our school climates are safe and inclusive, and the students are supported in a healthy, learning-focused environment. Students at BMLK and family at all sites in the survey responses consistently demonstrate that our kids and parents feel like the school is nurturing and the facilities have developed a culture of caring. In terms of equity, all of our pre-K partners in Marin City, pre-K through 3 partners, are deeply focused on providing our kids with equitable access to an excellent education. Families and students are met where they are at, and students are supported based on what they need in order to be successful in school. Each program individualizes its instructional programming to meet the unique needs of its students. All schools have parent-family outreach workers, and BMLK has a community schools manager and access to counseling and mental health support for students and families in need. And finally, through our work with EduSnap, as well as the daily support of our site's curriculum and instructional coach, as well as ongoing professional learning in the areas of reading and writing workshop and math, Bayside MLK has made high-quality instructional practice a priority with the entire staff. We are now completely aligned in our instructional program in literacy and math with clear learning pathways created from TK through 8th grade.
Awesome.
I won't go into the assessment data, but those are the main goals of the agreement, and we appreciate the opportunity to give an update, and we're really excited to hear MCF's response from our new grant submission. It is a greatly expanded submission over last year and over the years prior, last 3 years, and includes a lot of support for launching the pre-K initiative that's outlined in the comprehensive education plan that we submitted last month.
That is awesome. Is there any intent from the board? Any questions? Any questions from the board? All right. Any intent from those that are piped in, listening in? Any hands up? Thumbs up? Okay, we're going to move along to correspondent. I would like to just ask that unless there's something specifically that any of the board members want to make a comment, or if there is anything from those who are from the community that want to comment on 7.01 and 02, that we just move on.
Hey, Ida.
Yes.
I had intended to have a second computer where I could follow along, and it failed during the closed session. So can you remind me what those correspondence items were?
One is from Emily Robach, the arts program. The letter, it was a letter to the district about her years
I remember that.
In theater and teaching and at Willow Creek, and that she really just was hopeful that we can keep the arts and the programs intact. That was Emily's letter. Did you want me to give you the next one as well?
Yes,
Did you have
please.
comments on Emily's? Okay. The next one is from.
Well, I think.
Go ahead.
I think I can save my comments if Itoka is going to cover the progress we've made on a funding agreement in his superintendent report.
That's a good point. And
Which I see him nodding, so
okay.
I'll just wait for that.
So the second letter, Josh, follows along the same lines of how the district can take this opportunity to act in a caring, compassionate, and capable leadership, and not like the very last thing that families and students can use right now from Willow Creek is to have that positive leadership and not to basically defund the programs there. That
Thank
was
you.
from Alex.
I think I can save any of my comments for Itoka's report.
Okay. Thank you. So Itoko, because I cannot see, was there others from the community that wanted to, I guess I can pull that up, have comments?
I don't see any.
Nope.
Yep, neither do I. So we're going to move on. This brings us to your report, Itoko.
Yes. It has been quite an eventful month since we last got together on March the 5th.
You're welcome.
The next day, the world went crazy. I had a little sort of a foreshadowing of the idea that perhaps schools would begin to close since San Francisco had closed the Thursday before. And so the next day we got on a call with the rest of the superintendents in Marin County, and we were given the guidance by our public health officer and our county superintendent that we were going to close schools. And I sat down and wrote a letter and a communication that I never imagined I would write in this career or in this life. We are in an unprecedented time, and somehow we continue to have meetings, though. I've stayed busy. I was able to meet with folks from UC Berkeley, and UC Berkeley has now agreed to not only be part of our Teacher of Color pipeline, which I'm really excited about, as I think they're a world-class university and have given me 2 degrees in my life. But they're willing to place not only teacher interns here, but allow teachers to do residencies here. And what that means is that we will have an opportunity to have a bunch of student teachers from UC Berkeley as an extra pair of hands and teachers here at Bayside MLK next year, along with some of the other credential partners that I've been talking about for a longer period of time. Also, we added University of Redlands as a credentialing partner to our TOC pipeline. And they will be focused particularly on finding us BCLAD credentials. They've opened a program here in Marin County at the Theological Seminary in San Anselmo. And so those are some exciting developments in terms of the TOC pipeline. Some other things I'll talk about in just a little while. I had a follow-up meeting with the Shakur Foundation, and they have further agreed to support not only our after-school program next year, but they have agreed to donate an additional $14,000 to Bayside MLK, which will help us provide mobile hotspots through the T-Mobile grant program to 100 families here at Bayside MLK. And it won't just be for the shelter in place, but for a 2-year period. So really excited about that commitment from the Shakur Foundation to support our families with connectivity. And given where we are with distance learning, that is a really timely and huge commitment. I had no way of knowing how important it would be, but it worked out that it was. I also had a meeting with the Marin Promise Partnership, and they offered to support our efforts to coordinate our pre-kindergarten programs here in the districts. And they have agreed to be a coordination and data partner with us. They agreed to be part of our PK through 3 grant application. They will support us in developing a data dashboard that aligns all of the varied assessments that we have now into one coherent system. So it is my great hope that beginning early next year, instead of giving you either separate CASP reports or separate MAP reports, that we're giving you fully articulated reports on student progress across our system that has articulated all of the measures we're using, and that starts in pre-kindergarten. That doesn't just have one assessment for K through 3 and different assessments for 3 through 8, but really allows us to create a longitudinal data picture for our students beginning at the age of 2.5. That will be key in helping us design early interventions for students and making sure that all of the kids in our community, by the time they get to TK or kindergarten, really are school ready. And if they get off track along the way after that, that we can use all of our targeted intervention to make sure that they get on track sooner rather than later. So that was a really exciting commitment from Marin Promise Partnership. And the offer to support in terms of coordination is huge because they have already stepped in and started helping me with agenda development and calendaring and meeting facilitation. And so it's really wonderful to get that kind of support from a community partner as we have so many things on our plates. And it's great to see that the team of folks that we pulled together in terms of a pre-K advisory group have all really leaned in and committed to do this work and continue to meet together and to develop this program that's in our comprehensive education plan. So that meeting, although it was an interesting day, gave me some really important wind in my sails. And then I'm sorry, actually I spoke too soon. We had a meeting about potentially closing down on the 6th, but did not make the decision to close down until the 13th. So I got another full week of updating where the world hadn't quite gone crazy yet, but we were knowing it probably would. We also had an emergency staff meeting that day where we asked folks to start preparing distance learning lesson plans and work packets in anticipation of a possible school closure. And we shared with all of our staff that day. We have written into our MOUs with our collective bargaining partners that we can have 2 emergency staff meetings per year. And I used one of them that Friday, and we talked about all of the cleaning and health procedures that we would engage in if there was a coronavirus outbreak. Seems a lifetime ago now, but I do want to point out that we did that and it happened. And almost every single staff member was there to get that communication and get that plan. And our staff started planning from then, which is one reason why I think we're in pretty good shape now. So the following week, I had some follow-up meetings with the pre-K partners, so the Marin Horizon Community School, meeting with Conscious Kitchen, meeting with Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services from MCOE, Raquel Rose. MCOE is also collaborating in our pre-K program development and providing some coaching and support in the PK through 3 grants. And I don't think that I've mentioned this yet, but I'm happy to mention it now. Raquel and I have launched what we are calling the Marin Administrators of Color professional learning community. And so we're pulling all of the administrators of color in the county together. And we had an inaugural meeting that week where 5 principals and other leaders of color came together. And we're going to continue on doing that in a Zoom fashion. But much like we're building a teacher of color pipeline, I feel like it's really important that we're attending to the administrators of color and growing the administrators of color in our county. It's a strong commitment that I have, and it's a wonderful partnership to have that from the county office and from Raquel, the Assistant Sup of Ed Services for the county as well. I met with Alberta Erickson to talk about the intern social work program that she runs and to offer our support in terms of her PK through 3 grant so she can continue providing social work interns. We met with Arts Plus to talk about our ongoing collaboration and our different funding commitments for next year. Met with Trustee Van Alst and Trustee Turner, and we had a unification task force meeting before the world went crazy. And that was actually a really positive meeting. I'll wait for the committee updates on that, but that was the last one in person that we had. I was last big meeting that I had was the UC Davis Equity Summit. I'll let the folks know about it next year. It was a wonderful convening of equity-focused educators up at UC Davis, and that was allowed to go on before all the social distancing measures went in place. And we had a conference call with public health that day to get a further update. We had an LCAP template training at Marin County Office of Education. Met with Chelsea, our mindfulness educator, and met with Wyatt Krupp, who's a journalism student from UC Berkeley, who's been working to develop an article on desegregation. Some of you I know he's reached out to. And then we met with all the district staff to talk to them about the comprehensive education plan. Had an updated meeting with my superintendent coach. We had another board meeting. We had a couple board meetings in March, a special and then the regular board meeting. And we learned, Jamir and I learned how to use a resource that we've had courtesy of Marine Community Foundation for some time. It's called Catch a Fire. It allows you to get professional volunteers to work on projects for the district. So we've uploaded a bunch of projects to that platform, communication projects, website development, and some design work. And that's all work that those volunteers do for free. So that's a wonderful resource from MCF that we're really learning how to leverage properly. Met with SDTA and CTA reps and had some lunch and talked about some issues and the potential future. Really excited. Steve, in his role of many hats, got all of our CalPads information uploaded and certified with the state of California. That was great. And then we had the meeting where we decided we were going to close school for what we thought then was maybe 2 weeks. Had a wonderful meeting with Dr. Cadet about some potential collaboration on facilities development between the Community Development Corporation and the district. And we had a follow-up meeting for the DSE grants. And then we got into the world of having school closed. And staff really rallied that Monday. Everybody reported to work. People were working so hard to get out work packets and make sure that our kids had tech. And then we got the bomb dropped on us about the shelter-in-place order. And that really immediately changed so many things in our world, some of which was about how people were feeling about reporting to work. And I have, continued to support staff who are immunocompromised or over the age of 65 or live with people who are, to take care of themselves and their families. And I think that's really important in this time. Had calls with actually a lot of things got canceled that day, and then we started to settle into our new normal and started figuring out food distribution, and was ecstatic to get an offer from the Marin County Food Bank, something I'd been working on all year to try to get a food distribution point. We confirmed it that Tuesday and launched it the following Wednesday. And with really, it was like Dr. Clark and Steve and myself and a couple folks from CSEA and our M&O director. And we unloaded 5,500 pounds of food off of a truck and made 200 grocery bags and gave out 200 grocery bags. And wow. It was really an amazing effort. And that went so well that it has led to an ongoing commitment from the SF Marin Food Bank to allow us to be a food distribution points. And they have committed to continuing this even when the shelter in place is over. And I think it was really an amazing first day. We've now done 3 of them, but I saw people from all over the 94965 that I have never seen before that day. People in the Anchor Out community, people from the docks, people that don't interface with our district on a regular basis came out to get food and were appreciative. We've put out a community needs survey. We have over 60 responses so far. I'm going to keep it open a little while longer to see if we can get some more. We're going to do a big push with our BMLK families. But some of the free responses on there, I'll be really excited to share with you when we close the survey. This has evolved into, we're getting better at it. We now have a curbside drop off so that people are observing social distancing, and we're taking a lot of different measures to keep our staff safe. Thank you, Trustee Turner, for helping us with some design work on some signs that seemed a little friendlier than what we might have otherwise have had. Definitely more eye-catching, colorful. Every time I stand out in front of the school, whether it's to give a regular lunch or on a food bag day, people are extending a tremendous amount of gratitude from their open car windows, and this was really just the beginning of our rapid evolution into a community school, but really important development. Met a few times with our collective bargaining partners and leadership to talk about how we're going to proceed to work under this new moment, and then we have had a lot of follow-up meetings. There's a countywide Marin Equity, Educators for Equity program that I've been working on a pipeline. Met with them, and they agreed that we had done so much work with our Teacher of Color pipeline that will serve as a pilot for the county for the first 2 years, and that the whole consortium will support our pipeline. It was a really wonderful gesture from a bunch of community partners, but also from some of our really large school district partners. It's kind of a big deal for Novato and San Rafael to say that they're in support of a pipeline that only supports Southern Marin schools for the first 2 years as a way to build out a larger pipeline for the county. So really huge appreciation to my superintendent colleague partners that are involved there. Ross is involved. Miller Creek's involved. A few other of the larger school districts are involved. But it's amazing that our program is going to serve as a pilot to recruit more teachers of color for all of Marin County. But that was a tremendous support that we got there. Many of you may not know this, but since the closure, we usually have a once a month superintendent meeting. We have a call every day with every superintendent in this county. Usually public health is on that call as well. So I know that we've been sending out a flood of communications, and I will work to make it more parsimonious, but I feel like in this time, regular communication is really important. And I just want everyone in the community to know, and all of the trustees to know, that those communications are always based in collaboration with public health and the other superintendents here in the county and the County Office of Education. It has been a really tremendous support network. We also started, since the third day of the closure, Wednesday, the 18th, having an emergency command meeting here in the Sausalito Marin City School District. So we usually have a cabinet meeting once a week. We're basically having a cabinet meeting every day so that we can talk about what's going well, what we need to fix. A lot of the response that folks are seeing in the community, and one of the ways that we've been able to stay operational and functional is because of the commitment of our executive cabinet to meet every single day and provide ongoing feedback, real-time updates on how many lunches we prepared, how many we gave out, how many people logged in to do distance learning, how many people didn't. It's a real team effort right now, and I have always had a great appreciation and admiration for Steve and for Robert and for Cam and for Jamir and for David. But we're really working together in a new way every day in response to this crisis. We have had meetings with food committee. We've had meetings to deepen our library partnership. I want to really shout out our community schools manager, Jamir Reynolds. He has done some really incredible work in the past couple weeks, and taken the opportunity to form what he has dubbed the Marin City Coordination Team.
Mm-hmm.
And the Marin City Coordination Team is basically an organization of every community partner in Marin City that is providing different services to the community. And Jamir not only organized a team for each area of need, whether it's senior care or infant care or health care or mental health or education or food access or medical access, but we've had ongoing calls where he has organized every agency in this community to really focus on what they do well in a coordinated fashion and to share information and communicate regularly. And I am tremendously proud of the work that he is doing and the work that the community is doing together. This is the definition of a full-service community school. So much so that the county, health and social services, everybody's involved, and they have agreed to work through the Marin City Coordination Team through this crisis to make sure that funding and resources gets to where it needs to go in a really, I don't want to say unprecedented fashion, but I don't feel that we've been this organized in Marin City for quite some time. And so it's a real testimony to his work as a community school manager, to our evolution as a community school district. We're not just talking about food here. We're talking about meeting as many possible needs as we possibly can. And the school district is playing a really important coordination role in that space. Somehow I found time to talk to the California Department of Education about federal program monitoring. And I also am very optimistic that we may get ourselves to 0 findings here by the end of April. We got a bunch more findings resolved. We got very clear on what needs to happen to resolve the outstanding findings. And I'm really excited about the progress that we've made there. It might seem like a weird thing to work on, but I would sure like to get us to 0 findings before next school year, because they'll be back next school year. And it would be great not to have any findings when they come back, but certainly not to have 99. Let's see, really quickly. There is one or two other things that I want to mention. Some really important developments. We made an announcement out of our special board meeting on Tuesday about settling the Prop 39 lawsuit with Willow Creek over facilities. I'm really excited that that we can start to turn our focus towards continuing to serve the community, and that agreement will allow Willow Creek to stay on its current campus as we work to unify the schools. The district will start providing custodial staff for Willow Creek and providing continued maintenance. And Willow Creek is dropping its lawsuit against the district related to facilities claims under Prop 39. It will allow them to keep a bunch of programs that they were worried about having to cut. It will allow them to keep a lot of staff that they were worried about having to cut. And so I'm really excited that our boards were able to work together in this fashion to really support unification, to start to work in partnership together in a time that really requires us to work in partnership together. We've been working together in terms of fundraising. We've been working together in terms of food delivery. And so The fact that we're able to put at least one of these lawsuits to bed is really exciting and transformative news, and I do anticipate an ongoing and deeper conversation about unification and more progress in the not too distant future. But it's exciting to be able to announce that that we came to a pretty monumental agreement in terms of unification, in terms of the stability of the Willow Creek community. And of course, as always, the Willow Creek board makes all decisions about how they allocate their funding. That's not a position that we hold, but I'm glad that some of the dire reality that were presented in the past few weeks has been averted by this agreement. And of course, they're going to decide how exactly to avert that, but I'm glad that they're in a space to do that. And I'm glad that all the families that attend Willow Creek and the staff at Willow Creek can have some assurance and stability for next year, especially in a time when the world is so out of sorts. There is one more item that I want to mention, although equally important, but in a different vein. The community response in terms of food security has been simply awe-inspiring. And I'm going to let David give you some more details and about what he's been doing and what some of our teachers have been doing. They just kind of organically started a canned food drive. It's called Bags of Love. And they started asking for donations for canned food and dried goods that'll last folks for weeks and months if need be, if our supply chain gets interrupted. And the response was overwhelming. David was able to raise close to $10,000, and people were making multiple runs to Target and Food for Less to buy canned goods. And so the second food bank distribution, we also started giving out these bags of love full of canned food and rice and beans and other staples that can kind of last over time for every family at Bayside MLK. And last week we added every family at Willow Creek that's in need. And the Willow Creek community has joined in this fundraising effort. David has started to work through Bridge the Gap as a fiscal agent to receive the donations. And this looks like something that we can continue weekly throughout this shelter-in-place order. The other thing that I want to really mention is the collaboration between the Mill Valley Board President, Emily Uhlhorn, and Adopt a Family Marin. She came up with the idea, similar to David, right around the same time, to raise money countywide for our food insecure families. And that initiative also just took off like a shot. And with a partnership for with Adopt a Family Marin, they have been able to raise over $100,000 for food cards, grocery cards. It's called the COVID-19 Family Food Fund. Anybody watching that wants to contribute, there's a link on our website. And it's not only raising money for kids in Sausalito, Marin City, it's raising money for kids in Ross and Mill Valley and Larkspur Quarter, Madeira and Lagunitas, Kentfield, Bolina, Stinson, any food insecure family in the county. And it's just, I don't live in Marin anymore. But along with the Marin Howl, this kind of community collective action is really inspiring in an unprecedented time. we are facing the challenge of a generation right now. This is our World War II. This is our Great Depression. This is our Vietnam. This is our Spanish influenza. It depends on what generation our ancestors and where they came from, what country they came from. But this is a test of us as a people. And the way that Marin City as a community is responding, the way this district is responding, the way that this county is responding is really a testimony to human spirit, to brother and sisterhood, and to collaboration. And it provides hope in what otherwise could be a really dark time. And that will conclude my superintendent update for tonight.
Yeah, it's called the silent war. COVID-19.
The silent war.
Otoko?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if David's going to report on this or if you have it, but I'm curious how many of our students are regularly engaged in distance learning? Are we having trouble reaching anybody? Any metrics on that?
Yes, actually, we're measuring it every day. And during the first week, we had about 12 families that did nothing. Let me rephrase that. Were unable to connect and participate in the platforms that we offered. We went and did home visits to all of them to make sure that they could troubleshoot connectivity issues or have devices. That number is down to 11. And we're continuing to work with those families. Part of the multidisciplinary teams that Jamir has put together is designed to provide some real intensive support for those 12 families. We have folks from Bridge the Gap. We have folks from 10,000 Degrees that are going to be working with those individual families on top of what the teachers are offering. I'm going to let David is on, so I'm going to let him take the lead in responding in more depth to your question, and also really outlining the incredible work being done by all of our staff to provide distance learning. I'll let him provide the details, and if I feel like he misses anything, I'll fill in a gap. But David has been amazing. He's been working tirelessly, not only to make food bags, but he's been checking in with teachers every day. He's been doing home visits. He's been dropping off computers and iPads and Wi-Fi hotspots, and his effort is not to be overlooked in all of this either.
But before David chimes in, I'll add a couple of related questions that he might address at the same time. Are we doing 5-day-a-week instruction? I know Willow Creek started with that and they dropped to 4. I was very disappointed with that. I'm wondering what we're doing as a district or Bayside MLK. I'm also curious if we're providing remote counseling. That is something I was pleased to learn Willow Creek is doing, and I'm hoping we're doing the same. So with that,
so before we move on to David, because he is up next, I just want to field any questions that the trustees might have for you, Itoko, and those that are in the public. So at this time, if there are any trustees that have questions for Itoko, now would be a good time based on his report before we open it up to the public.
I'll give feedback. I thought we were briefly going to David and then back to questions on Otoko, but I would, in addition to hearing from David when it's his turn, I just want to thank Otoko and the entire staff for everything that they're doing right now. It's a pretty amazing time and a lot of work going into this. So thank you, and please pass that on to everybody. I also wanted to go back and just acknowledge on that settlement that Otoko mentioned, where we've reached a funding agreement as part of a settlement. I wanted to go on record because I've been very critical of this board for funding decisions and just being at odds with each other, and I share a part in that, of course, but we unanimously came together around this, and that's been a rare thing for this board. So I want to thank every board member for working together to get a lawsuit or part of a lawsuit behind us and get some stability and funding in place for all parties. So I wanted to take an opportunity to thank everybody for that.
Thank you so much, Josh. I think it helped for us to do that core group with, 2 board members from Sausalito Marin City School District, as well as a couple board members and the president from Willow Creek with our superintendent, and, to be able to just, do that dialogue and come back where we can, talk in a broader space with everybody and come to, a unanimous agreement definitely shows, and I'm hoping that the public, tunes into this, but it shows that we all do care, and that this work that is being put forth shows that effort. And I know Itoko soon will have a press release out as well. And in that same spirit, I really hope that the community at large will see that we collectively, we put in that effort, and it just helps us to begin to bridge that pathway to unification. So thank you for that, Josh. Itoko, I did have a question for you. Based on the COVID-19 food fund, is that going to be through Adopt a Family, or how are people, is that information on our website? How are people going to tap into that?
That information is on our website. If you go to our homepage, the second announcement down says Help Marin Families in Need, 100,000 raised so far, click here. If you click on that, it'll take you to a link and a flyer that outlines all the particulars, but it is through Adopt a Family. Adopt a Family will be giving grocery cards, and that's how those funds will be dispersed to needy families.
Wonderful. And then my other question for you, Catch a Fire. You said that was a volunteer project through Marin Community Foundation. And I know in this season right now of us being sheltered in place, is it, are you guys going to utilize these services even though that we're kind of all doing things remotely?
Yes, we are. So Catch a Fire is actually a remote volunteer platform. And what it does is it allows professionals from all over the country who want to donate their time or their services to other nonprofit organizations to respond to requests for projects. And so it's neat that it's already a remote platform, and all of a sudden everybody's working remotely. And so it's sort of trying to look for silver linings to this shutdown. And the turn of phrase I'm looking for is right on the tip of my tongue, but it escapes me. But the idea is that necessity breeds creativity, right? And we're all having to come up with some pretty innovative ways to try to get things done. And it just so happened that, literally before we shut down, we had scheduled a Catch a Fire webinar so we could figure out how to use this resource that Marin Community Foundation offers us for free. And when we got on and realized what we could do with it, we immediately started thinking of projects that we were going to ask for help for. And then the world shut down. And so we've now added even more projects on there. And so it's a pretty neat little platform. It's Catch a Fire, CATCHAFIRE, catchafire.org. And you can check it out on the website. And anybody from our community that has some expertise that they want to lend to Catch a Fire, maybe that's a good way to spend some time during this shelter in place.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. So bringing it back to the board, any intent to ask Itoko questions?
I just want to echo Josh's comments. This is Caroline. And thank you, Itoko, for all that you're doing during this crazy time, and all the community members and organizations and the massive coordination effort that's happened. And secondly, I do want to also thank the full board for accomplishing this historic settlement agreement. Ida and Bonnie, I want to thank you very much for your time and effort in all the meetings that you've had, and Dr. Toko, of course, Dr. Garcia as well. So I'm incredibly optimistic, even though we're all sheltered in place.
It's a crazy time.
Crazy times.
Yeah. I think we'll all be the better for it. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Oh, yeah, this is Bonnie, and I too I'm very pleased that we were able to reach an agreement, and I think it'll be a wonderful step forward and a great solution to this part of our challenge. So, and thank you, Dr. Garcia and team. What awesome work. What awesome work. I'm so proud of our community. Thank you.
No doubt. I just wanted to say this shelter in place has kind of rejuvenated our climate. The air is fresh. There are animals that are, populating, and so Dr. Garcia, are there any hands up to make comments to you?
I don't see any. Oh,
okay.
Wait a minute. There is a hand. Steve, could you unmute and put Jamie on video?
Okay. Did that work?
It worked. We can see you and we can hear you.
Okay. I'm not sure that this is an okay question to ask, or whether it's appropriate at this time, whether you can answer it at this time. But what is the dollar cost of this Prop 39 settlement?
I would like to wait until we publish a joint statement, and then we'll put out the details of the agreement, if that's okay. There will be no loss or cuts made to the districts, and it's hard to pin an exact dollar amount down to it, because we're picking up custodial positions, so there's a budgetary savings to Willow Creek in that regard. We're reducing the amount that they pay for facilities, so they're reducing an expenditure in that regard. This year they were scheduled to pay the district $223,000. So over this year, next year, and the following year, they won't be paying that. And then the other parts of the agreement actually are based on enrollment figures that may or may not change over time. And so we'll send out some more details and particulars, but that feels like a safe answer that I can give you right now.
Okay, thank you.
So, Toko, once the joint press release is done, will we upload that to the website?
We will upload it to the website, and I think once we file the settlement agreement, I'm not sure if that's to be filed in court or how. I know it's been ratified by both boards, but we'll make that public too for anybody that wants to see the details. And I see, can you unmute and turn Trustee Barrow's video back on, because his hand is raised.
Jamie, thanks for your question. Did you have something else to add? All right, don't leave us, Jamie.
Trustee Barrow, you had a hand raised?
No, I had a distraction in the background, so I had to mute myself. And when I do that, it puts me in the group of people that's muted. I can't come back on without raising my hand. So.
Fair enough. All right. I don't see any other raised hands in the participant group.
Thank you. So that brings us to Principal Fanan.
David, are you with us, sir?
Hi there, I'm waiting for Steve to unmute me and let my beautiful mug appear on your screen. He must be saving you from the video.
Well, you're unmuted, just so you know. We can all hear you.
I got it.
There he is.
Fuzzy. Hi.
There's the video.
Hi there. Okay. Hi everyone. Nice to see you.
Hello.
Little blurry, David.
Yeah, I don't know why. Let me see if my clean my screen. Is that better?
It helped.
My daughter says it's dark. Hold on. Is that better? Kind of. Hold on.
Hi,
Am I less blurry?
Yes.
Okay. Hi everyone.
Hello.
So, okay. I'll run you through our distance learning plans here. I'm looking at my phone as I go. So, yeah, wow, what a whirlwind, for sure. I talked to almost every teacher, for sure every other day, many of them every day, multiple times, either by text or by phone. We're currently doing distance learning 5 days a week. And there's been no discussion that we would do anything other than 5 days a week. I did talk for a little bit with Emily about that this morning at Willow Creek, and she shared what they were up to, and I told her what we were up to. But there's not, if anything, the teachers at Bayside, I told Itoko this today, I haven't been surprised, but it is just remarkable how incredibly dedicated they are to the kids, and even like panic might be a little bit of a drastic word, or exaggerated word, but really, really concerned about the kids that are not engaging at the level that we need them to in order for them to stay abreast of their work, and like personally concerned and texting me saying, David, I really need you to go to this home. I really need to make contact with this parent. Can you please reach out? Or the phone's not, I'm not sure if the phone's been turned off, or maybe, sometimes if, the battery dies or whatever, but we need help because I'm really worried about this child. And it's literally from first grade. We haven't started distance yet in TK or K. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But every teacher is just so deeply committed to their kids, working through this really complex time, both in our world and in our little community, regardless of online learning. Just the concern about just, why don't I get to see my friends anymore? And I have to stay inside all the time. And now that there's been a confirmed case in Golden Gate Village, the parents are really keeping their kids close. And so the kids are really feeling, I think, isolated, and the staff is feeling really isolated from the kids. And so I don't know what just happened there. Hold on.
You're good.
Okay. But we are, despite all that, here's what's happening with distance learning. So we have, for English language arts, we have, we're using iRead, System 44, and Read 180. And, those programs have proven to make a big difference anyway. But man, is it amazing now, because the kids all know how to log on. They know how to get in. Mark has pushed onto their homepage of their Chromebook. So when they open up their Chromebook, up pops the log on little logo for HMH, and in the kids go, and they all have a certain amount of minutes, 40 minutes for first, second, third, and then 45 minutes for fourth through eighth. And we're able to see every single day how many minutes kids did and how many active minutes kids did. So I was at 3 homes this afternoon where the kids are looking up at their mom, and she's saying, I thought you said you did it. And she said, Mom, you saw me yesterday. Or he said, Mom, you saw me yesterday. I was on. Well, yeah, you were on, which made your mom think you were working. But what the system shows us is if kids are making any progress whatsoever, and if they're not making any progress, then obviously just having the computer turned to that website doesn't make any difference at all. So it's making for some interesting conversations with kids and parents for sure about what it looks like to be actively engaged. We also are using a website called Epic Reading. And Epic Reading is a website where all the books are Fontes and Pinnell leveled. So they're all leveled exactly the way that our teachers have been trained to assess now students' reading levels. And our classroom libraries, all the library books that we bought this year for all the classrooms, on the recommendation of Betty Hodges, to use Lee and Low, if you recall, so that we can buy culturally relevant books. All the classroom books are leveled based on F&P, and the teachers have this website now, Epic, where they can assign books to kids. So they put books in each kid's library, virtual library, based on the child's F&P reading level. And for sure, 4 of our teachers right now, 1st through 4 or 5, are calling kids at least once a week, and some kids twice a week. They pull up on their computer screen the book that they've assigned, say, Keyshawn, and then they have Keyshawn bring up the same book, and Keyshawn reads the book via Zoom or FaceTime with the teacher, and then the teacher can listen for fluency. They can talk about, she can ask or he can ask comprehension questions. They can talk about the content. So that's a fantastic platform. And all the kids in 1st through 4 or 5 currently have Epic. I talked with Mr. Holcomb about it earlier this week. And next week, when we distribute iPads to all the TK and K kids, we're going to have on their home screen the Epic link so that Mary can do the same. That's what's happening in English language arts in particular. Teachers are still trying to get their head around writing, and that's been, I think, slower than all of us would like, but frankly, it's like drinking from a fire hose. And so I have not put pressure on them to have everything be perfect in the first few weeks, but that's a big topic of conversation right now, is how we're going to tackle writing. Math, most of the teachers are using a combination of Big Ideas, the Big Idea workbooks that the kids have, the Khan Academy website, and then some classes are using Big Ideas online. So for the classes that are using Khan Academy and the Big Idea workbook, let me give you an example. Miss Kelly in 1st grade, actually Miss Kelly in 2nd grade as well, will send kids through Google Classroom a link and say, Chiari, I want you to watch this math video, and then I want you to go to page 76 and 77 in your math workbook and do that math. Have your mom or dad take a picture of the worksheet and then text it to me. And then, and the nice thing about this platform is, the other thing that can happen is that you can completely differentiate, because what Miss Kelly sends to Chiari might look different than what she sends to Ari, which is different than what somebody's sending to Amanda. And they're all getting videos based on their specific level, and the videos are instructional. So it's literally like Khan Academy giving instruction on how to do double-digit addition. And then they go to the worksheet and they do the double-digit addition on the worksheet and then send it into the teacher. Dr. Garcia and I talked today about, and I immediately talked with Andrea about looking to see if we can find an online, clearly there are them, where the kids can just do all the work and show their work online rather than having to have parents have to take pictures of the work and then text it. However, and I shared this with Itoko today, Jennifer in 2nd grade and Samantha in 1st grade really want the kids to be doing some sort of like pencil on paper computation, so they're not just looking at a screen all day. And so we're trying to balance the benefits of having them do that with the hassle of needing to get a parent to take a picture and then in a timely manner text it to the teacher. And then in the upper grades, they're using the Big Ideas online platform where the kids get a lesson online, it does the instruction, they have to do the work, they actually submit their work online, and then, amazing for the teachers, the system actually grades their work. It corrects it and gives it a percentile that the teachers then talk to the students about. And then finally, the kids all have Dreambox. And they're in the lower grades, they do 20 minutes a day. That's math. And in the upper grades, they do 45 minutes a day in 3rd through 8th. In addition to their regular math, and then they have some sort of reading. And in addition to their reading, they also need to do 45 minutes of iRead, System 44, or Read 180. When you add it all up, it's probably about 3.5 hours of work. And in the homes that I visited over the last many days, I'm reminding the kids that at school they're there for 7 hours. I don't mention that some of that is recess and lunch. And the work we're giving them is 3.5 hours. And so it's half the time. If they spread it out throughout the day, they can easily get it done. Science and social studies is happening, I think, in a really, I feel good about the way that it's happening in, social studies 4-8, I feel really good about. Science, I feel good about it in 4-5, and I know that Mr. Haddad knows he needs to pick it up in 6-8, although he's just been focused on math and making sure the kids are doing what they need to do in math. And in 1st through 3rd, they have not yet dove, whatever the word is, into science. They've just been focused on English language arts and math. I did tell you already the teachers in 1st through 3rd are FaceTiming or Zooming with kids at least once a week and usually twice to have the kids do read alouds with them, which I don't know if that's happening anywhere. One benefit we have is that we have smaller class sizes, but still to have the teachers committed to getting on the phone in a FaceTime and pulling up the story and having the kid pull up the story and then have the kids read and talk about the book they read. I mean, that's pretty rich for such a short period of time that we've been doing this. And it takes a lot of collaboration. We need the parent to have the phone ready to go. We need the kid to answer when they call. They got to get set up. They've got to have the story or the article, whatever it is, the literature up on their screen. So there's all these little logistics that in the first week were really frustrating. We're getting better at. Home visits. So they're happening pretty much every day. We are trying to sort out exactly the best way to do visits so that our presence is felt and parents realize that this has to be a priority and we can't do it ever well without our parents, but we really can't do it well right now without our parents because the kids are at home. And most kids were a little bit out and about in the last 2 weeks. I have not seen any kids, except for when they come with an adult to pick up lunch, in the last 4 days. I think since there was a confirmed case in Marin City, parents and grandparents and others are just really scared. And so we need to lean on our parents and our guardians to support our kids in getting this work done and making time for it. Couple other things. I know Dr. Garcia talked about the fundraiser a little bit with Adopt a Family. I did have a great conversation with Emily, who's the president of the school board in Mill Valley. We decided that we would run kind of parallel efforts because theirs is gift card based and ours is primarily canned food items that can be on a shelf for quite a bit of time if parents need it, and more kind of staples. And so we start, frankly, Mr. Friedman, who you know, our special day class teacher, and myself and another friend of ours in San Anselmo, one morning I texted and said, hey, you guys, what do you think if we start this canned food fundraiser and we'll put bins out in front of our house and see what we can do? And I renamed my Venmo BMLK donations. And frankly, we didn't talk about how long we'd do it. We didn't talk about what we would do depending on how much money we made. And we didn't talk about where we would get the product. We just thought it was a neat idea. And we put it up on Nextdoor, and we've probably gotten at least 60 full bags of groceries donated in these bins, which we've now completely stopped. Don't ever do that. I recommend never doing that because you don't get any sort of similarity in then what you can give people. And it's also pretty amazing what people think somebody might need if they're hungry. Just random things. And everybody that I think dropped things off was truly being well-intentioned and good-natured, but we've stopped accepting anything at the curb. And we've used all the donated things in the bins just as bonus items. What we switched to was only doing fundraising. The day after I put it up on Nextdoor, I emailed Emily at Willow Creek and Yasmin and told them that we started this fundraiser at Bayside, but I wanted to make sure they knew about it. And immediately Emily hooked me up with some parents at Willow Creek, and I shared all the verbiage that I had used. And then Laura Cox heard about it and reached out to me, and in very short order, maybe 5 days later, we decided to partner with Willow Creek and Bayside and Bridge the Gap together so that we could use Bridge the Gap's nonprofit status so that donations could be tax deductible.
That's awesome.
And all the language is now about, it's all about a unified effort between Willow Creek and Bayside MLK in partnership with Bridge the Gap to provide families in need at Willow Creek and Bayside with canned goods on a weekly basis. We've raised about $55,000 to date, and the goal is $160,000 so that we can provide canned food through the mid-August, when hopefully we will all be back at school and families will be back to a semblance of normalcy. We're as I don't think I have to tell you, but not only do we have parents that are not now unable to work because they had jobs where they got laid off, we also have a great number of our undocumented families who are undocumented have lost their job, and they don't qualify for unemployment compensation. So they literally have no income. So it's been really inspiring to me to do this. And frankly, what I'm most proud of is that we're doing it literally with Willow Creek. We collect the food on Tuesdays. People come by and drop off all we have a shopping list now where there's 15 specific things that people buy. And then they bring them by from 8 to 11 on Tuesday morning. Kevin reached out to me, who runs the Boys and Girls Club on our campus. He's the valet on the curb from 8 to 11 every Tuesday. People pull in. We tell them to stay in their car. They don't need to get out. Kevin has gloves. He takes all the bags, brings them into the hallway. Then we have a whole team of people, volunteers from Bayside, from Willow Creek, and from the community. We sort all the stuff into the different categories, and this sold 145 bags and gave out 135. And it just feels really nice to see us doing it with people from Willow Creek, and all the communication that's happening are all these parents from Willow Creek and myself and Laura, and it's been really neat. So it's a nice, it feels like, in addition to what Adopt a Family is doing with the gift cards, which should be coming soon, in addition to the canned food, in addition to the work that's happening with the food bank, it feels like we're filling a need. And I don't know that the canned food drive is something that we could sustain forever, but I know Dr. Garcia is working with the food bank to try to have that be something that could be year round. And so, but I feel like this time in our community's existence, people need outreach, and they need to know we're there, even if they're not able to ask for help. And boy, the response we get at the doors is just, Cam and I went to 11 units today, both in the 100 and 200 block and up in the high rises. And people, I said to Cam, I haven't been blessed this much since my grandmother was living. And people are just so grateful and humble. And the other thing that's nice about it is, in addition to just providing people with food, is we're making a connection. We're making a human connection, and they see us, and not only do they see us, but I think they feel seen. So it's really neat. And then last thing I'll say is for mental health, the clinicians are doing what they now call telehealth. I had never heard that one before. And Dr. Clark and Jade and Claire are providing weekly telehealth where they can reach parents and kids. So the mental health work is continuing. Dr. Garcia did bring to our attention this week through the survey that I think it was maybe 47%, Dr. Garcia, of our parents said that they were worried about their child's social emotional situation. And so we know there's more to do. As the virus spreads, it feels like it's getting more challenging to figure out a way to connect, because, again, kids are not out. People are, Marin City is, a
ghost
I go in
town.
the parking lots a lot, and right now there's like 2 people out when there used to be 30.
Mm-hmm.
So,
David, in addition to that, our Chelsea, our mindfulness teacher, is doing mindfulness with the kids, and there's a few other. We're connecting people with some online resources and some mobile app resources to support mental health as well. But I think you're right, David. This is an area that we need to get a lot stronger at, and the actual number was 67% of parents are concerned about their children's mental health.
Wow.
So the community is absolutely a ghost town right now. There is no doubt. And I don't know if you're done, David.
I'm done.
Okay. Yes, they're living in this community. We hear a lot of things in record speed, and I just want to be assured that if there is a COVID-19 case of any of our families, that the administration is going to jump on that real quickly to let families know. That's just like a comment. But the other thing that I wanted to find out, since we're in this virtual existence now, is if there's any bandwidth to find a tool that the small kids or even the TK through 8 can use for their writing and for practicing. And I don't know if you had said that there was something about that or not.
We talked about it in cabinet today, and Dr. Garcia gave me a few ideas, about even just having kids write letters or write letters to their teacher or practice writing letters,
Wow.
just to be writing. As I said, writing is, I had a staff meeting yesterday, a Zoom meeting yesterday, and two of the things that were the biggest areas of concern, the number one biggest area of concern was that the teachers just were desperate to actually have contact and to see their kids and to connect with them in face-to-face, which of course is not possible in the moment, but that was the number one concern. And then in addition to just being able to stay on top of the, say, 8% of kids that are kind of, their engagement is uneven. The other issue was writing. And so that is an issue that Andrea and I talked about today briefly, and we are going to tackle tomorrow so that we can try to identify a way in which kids can write. And they all have a laptop except for TKK, or they all have a Chromebook, but the first, second, third graders are not in a position where they can type in a fluent way to have their thoughts really come out. It takes way too long, and we want them writing. I mean, I completely agree, Ida. So I can't give you an perfect answer right now because frankly, I've never had to do this and either of the teachers, but it is right at the top of the list that Andrea and I are going to talk about tomorrow. Is this piece about writing. And then the other issue is there a way that we can get our first and second graders to do some of the math online versus the do it in the worksheet, have mom take a picture, have mom text the picture. That's a lot needs to go right for that to happen. So those are the two things.
Of course. I mean, it's also very fresh. It's also so new. But it leads me to asking the question of if the kids are able to, do their writing assignments or whatever the case may be, and the district provides an envelope that they can put their work in at the end of the week, and then it comes back to the teachers, and the teachers can actually see, the work that's being done for those households. I mean, we don't specifically for our lower classes, first, second, third grade, or whatever the case may be, because it's not like we have a lot of kids. So if they were able to, just do some writing, put in an envelope, come back to the school, teachers can see it in real time.
Love the idea, Ida. I'm texting Andrea as you speak. So amidst this horrible crisis, one thing that is true is that at almost every single home, you knock on the door and someone answers. The families are home. And so this morning we delivered 46 of the canned food bags to the families that weren't able to come down and pick up the food at the school yesterday. And 44 of the 46 families answered the door. So wow. That's an interesting idea that I'm sending to Andrew right now is maybe we could, if you're the third grade runner, you take an envelope and you go to each third grade apartment on Thursday and they reach out and they, we got to keep our social distance. They stick their writing in the basket, and then we go to the next place and we go to the next place. And then we take them and I scan them and email them to the teachers. I mean, that's an idea. And the other thing I like about that is that because people are feeling so isolated, just having someone come to the door and knock and say, how are you? Hello? How's it going? I mean, it was hilarious today. So, I mean, some of the interactions were just amazing. And the kids are, they are, first of all, they can't believe that Mr. Fanan actually is anywhere other than at school. So they're like, wait, he's in building 79? How did you even know where this was, Mr. Fanan? But also there's a connection that we're making. So I'm texting right now and we will talk about it.
Okay, and that brings me to my last question, and that is, I've heard from some of the other kids, not from our school, and maybe our school is doing it, that the teachers are doing a Zoom and they're bringing their kids in on that Zoom for those who have the ability. And so you have the teacher and you have many of the kids in the classroom, and they can all interface.
So in third grade through 8th, they are doing at least weekly Zooms, and in some grade levels, they are doing daily Zooms. I will tell you that depending on the grade level, the results are a little mixed because not all the kids, just like adults, are able to figure out this Zoom world and etiquette. And so reminding kids to all mute if they're not talking, or, now isn't the time to be wrestling with your twin brother, or, mom's in the background changing a diaper and the Zoom's not unmuted. And so all everyone hears is screaming. So, just life happening during the calls. I will say in 6th through 8th grade, it's by far been the most successful. I think April would say in 3rd grade, which she'll continue through tomorrow. And then remember, Miss Bunting comes back from maternity leave the week after spring break. April would say that her Zooms she is using now simply as a way for the kids to connect. Mm-hmm. And Lauren said they are absolutely hilarious. And the kids are like playing, like virtually laughing and giggling and telling jokes and just being children on Zoom. And she's not using it as a learning mechanism in the moment. She's just letting the kids have to connect, which I think we would all agree is really important.
Thank you.
Hey, David, that's spot on to something I wanted to suggest. Both my kids are doing Zoom classes and having this type of experience that you described, working through the kinks of it all. A lot of it comes down to, like, even a meeting like this, you need to be able to mute people that aren't doing it right themselves and things like that. But what I don't think is happening, it's happening a little bit in just the way you described, but not in a kind of scheduled or structured way, is almost like a Zoom recess, where kids can just connect, because a lot of kids don't know how to connect to their friends. They connect at school. They don't even know their number. A friend doesn't have a cell phone. And so they rely on school to make that connection. Mm-hmm. And if we could provide a space of time where it's actually okay to just be silly and connect with your friends, I think that would go a long way in this time. So yeah, I know everybody's got their hands full and that can't be the top priority, but it's something to think about.
I like it. And Dr. Garcia has been talking about trying to figure out a way, encouraging me to encourage the teachers to figure out a way to even just like have a morning meeting where they can all do some mindfulness. They can all share how their day was. I think we're going to get there. Right now, we had a staff meeting yesterday and I was going to go there, and I felt like people are working so hard and it's so complicated that I decided I'd give them a little bit of more breathing room. But I'm going to start individually reaching out to teachers tomorrow and then even this weekend, and just planting the seed of, hey, what would you think if we figured out a way to do a Zoom meeting just to start, and maybe you don't get all the kids, but say if you don't get 4 of them, let us know who the 4 are, and then we can support those parents in getting Zoom on their phone or on their Chromebook, which they all have, and then maybe you get 2 the next week, and just have a moment for them to say good morning and how are you, and let's start our day, and talk about what it's going to look like. I think it's really important, Josh, because for all of us, the isolation is hard.
Yeah.
How are you handling PE?
So Mr. Roderick sent out this week, it's the first week, on Sunday, he sent every single teacher a menu, if you will, a lesson plan of what the kids should do, exactly what they should do by grade level. Go outside, go out on your back porch, or go out on your deck, or whatever, in your courtyard. I want you to do 20 jumping jacks. They know all the stretching moves now from calisthenics before they do an activity, and it's great. We need to tweak it in TK through 2. I'm going to send it out via Blackboard rather than the teachers sending it out via text, because they don't want to send a group text, because then you have like 75 people replying to everybody and everybody's text is blowing up, and it's hard to do. It's email is not reliable with most of our parents. It's just not a means that most of them use. They use text. And so I'm going to do it via Blackboard, and I can select TK first and second and send Coach Roderick's assignment and say, please go over this with your kid. So, and then same thing is happening with art. Ellen, I didn't mention that. So Miss Franz, the right away when this happened, I don't even know how she did it. Right when this crisis hit, Ellen shows up and said, David, I have a bag of art supplies for every single kid organized by grade. How can we get these home? And then on Monday and Tuesday, she put together a TK2, a 3-5, and a 6-8 art package and kit, all personalized by those 3 grade levels. And so yesterday when families came to school, they got a food bank bag, they got a canned food drive bag, and they got their child or children, if they have more than one, art. And then today when we delivered, Cam and I went to these homes, and I made Cam carry the heavy bag because he thinks he's a big, strong guy. Said, all right, Cam, you got the heavy bag. I'll take the art and the easy bag. And off we went to the door, and the kids they couldn't believe it, because it was like bringing them a gift. And Ellen had ordered these art kits, and then she inserted a note from her, I missed you guys so much. Please use this art to express yourself. It's beautiful. And so now, awesome. and we had 2 volunteers that delivered food to all of our families in Mill Valley, San Rafael, most in the Canal, and all the way to Novato. And when they deliver them, they get 2 bags of food and their art. So every single kid at Bayside MLK, as of right now, as of today at 3:20 probably, had been delivered their food and their art. Ellen is incredible.
That is awesome. I hope some of those families take some pictures of their art so that we can see it.
Ellen puts her number in there and asks them to please text her pictures, and she's got tons of pictures.
Wow. Wow.
What about music?
Music has not happened yet. Phil and I talked about it late last week, and I'm waiting for him to put together a plan, and I will remind him tomorrow that we need to move. He wants to like assign a song and then have the kids do some reflection on how those words speak to them, say, in the song. He's really interested in identifying songs with lyrics that speak to the kids with whom we work. And so he's got some great ideas. We just need to actionize it. And the only other thing I'd say about that is it's not such a bad thing that it hasn't happened yet, because one of the things that Emily talked about, and I can say from my own experience with 2 kids, one in high school and one in middle school in my own house, is that, even though at school they go to English and history and math and science and PE and 1 or 2 electives every day, when you get an email from your English teacher and your history teacher and your math teacher and your science teacher and your PE teacher and both of your elective teachers, even though it's actually not as much time, it feels overwhelming to get 7 emails with work to do, because it's just not the way they're used to functioning. So not trying to, spin this at all. It hasn't happened, but I think, frankly, it's a blessing that it happened, because we talked yesterday with the teachers about how we also need to have less be more. And they just can't, if we're sending these families all this content that these kids got to get through, it gets overwhelming. And then I think families are feeling like we just can't do it. And there's a little bit of like, forget it. And by the way, not all kids are waking up saying, I can't wait to do iRead today. And so it's the same nonsense we have to deal with in our own homes, where it's like, no, get off of Minecraft, get back to math. And the same thing's happening in our families' homes in Marin City and elsewhere.
So I'd like to share a couple of things. I think the more you have scheduled live activity, whether it's via Zoom or phone or any technology, the more you help families keep their kids kind of moving through a schedule, as opposed to being distracted with Minecraft or what have you. And in the case of my kids, they are continuing with their music and their martial arts, which they do outside of school. Mm-hmm. But they're doing it with scheduled classes. So you could do this for PE, where for the kids that are able to use something like Zoom, instead of just sending them a list of things to do, you actually have the PE instructor working with them live. Mm-hmm. And my kids are doing about 40 minutes of martial arts a day that way. And it's not as fun as making contact with other kids, but it actually keeps them active and moving around for 40 minutes at a structured time. And music is a little tougher if you don't have the bandwidth for that one-on-one. I don't know schedule-wise how that might work. But whether it's small group or maybe even one-on-one, it's been amazing to me that we've kind of replaced everything with a virtual schedule. In our household, we're still doing it all, and I wouldn't have even thought that was possible. But even things like PE, or in our case, martial arts or music, it's possible to put it in. I think it would be overwhelming if it was just an email of assignments without a structured time to do it. It would just feel like overload. But when you have a structured class, it's just another structured slot of time like they would have had in a normal day. So something to consider.
Yeah, the teachers have shared suggested schedules with their parents with very modest success.
Right.
And one of the conversations I had with the teachers yesterday is that, we have to be really careful that we don't lower our standards right now, because it's really complicated and it's hard to get online, and parents aren't used to having kids at home, and they're not used to being their kid's teacher. They're used to having them at school. Because if we lower our standards, the kids the people that suffer are the kids, and we have to have the standards high, and we have to hold those standards high now for our parents. We need them to support us in making sure that their child is doing 45 minutes of Dreambox in 4th grade and is doing 45 minutes of Read 180 and is doing their science and is doing their social studies and is checking out Coach Sweeney's PE. And it for the teachers as well, connectivity. You call, like I was at a home today and I said to the mom, Miss Kelly's been trying to reach you for the last 3 days. I'm just checking in. She said, you know what? My phone got turned off at the end of the month, but it's back on now. I had no way of getting in hold of her. I said, great. She's here with me right now. Can I put her on FaceTime? Sure. FaceTime. Mom told her, sorry, my phone was off. It's back on. I'm ready to go. Let's talk again tomorrow morning. But I don't want to, and the teachers aren't even remotely there, but I just reminded them that in these moments when it's frustrating and you don't get called back from 3 days, we can't just throw in the towel. We have to double down on our persistence. And my experience has been that everybody in Marin City responds that I've interacted with when you refuse to give up. Mm-hmm. And you keep trying to engage.
And David, I think families should want that more for their children. You want to be able to promote that spirit of excellence so that your children have it better than you have.
Yep.
So I have a thought. So it seems like one of the silver linings in this is the connections that you're making, the relationships you're establishing with parents, the importance of their engagement and their participating fully in their child's education. It seems like there might be it might be a good time to offer parents a group. If it's a FaceTime opportunity or a Zoom opportunity for them to get together and talk with, ideally, an educator about, oh man, this is so hard, or this is so easy, or I tried this today and it worked, and just to make a sort of chat opportunity available to parents to talk about this, I don't know. I know it's one more thing, but it might be a really important piece of moving forward with parents really feeling a part of their child's education in a way that they perhaps hadn't before.
Yeah. And Deborah, that might be through what Mr. Reynolds has kind of putting together. It's like this larger. There's multiple groups that are involved, including families in that. So that might be where that's in that space where that could happen.
Yeah, I don't know where the space would be, but it seems like it's something that would be really beneficial for parents to be able to,
Also, and it's not specifically education focused, but this week, Chelsea, the woman that works with us in mindfulness, and Alberta Erickson and Jade, they did host a Zoom kind of conference or meeting where anyone in the community could join to just talk about how they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I can say as a parent that now has my sweet little family of 4 has expanded back to my 2 college kids being home. One of my college kids is now staring at me like, what are you trying to say? But
tell him to get in the frame. Where is he?
Yeah, she's over there. Where are you, Ryan?
Hi. Hi.
That it is. I mean, life has changed drastically. And the dynamics change when you're suddenly full time with kids at home every day, all day, and you're being told not to go outside. Don't leave your house.
Especially now that there's a case of COVID in Marin City. I mean, it's a ghost town here, but it is really locked down because, you know, a lot of people, we don't know who the family is because, you know, for privacy
Right.
sake, but there's this, you know, it has been known.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Well, I think that you know, however we can, the school provide the platform for parents and caregivers to kvetch and congratulate and just share their experience of being, you know, the teacher, you know, the enforcer of all that's being asked of the kids is really, very useful. And I'm sure Jamir is thinking in those terms.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out a way to connect. You know, it's probably not health official approved. My experience has been that when we go to the door, knock, and then stand back 6 feet and just have a conversation, it's the most powerful connection that I've been able to make. Is just going to people's doors and saying, how are you? And hello to the child and so good to see you. And then, you know, we can do it online. I'm not suggesting it's not a good idea, but unless we're absolutely told that we can't do it, you know, I'll continue to advocate that we go to the door just to say hello and do you need anything? People are so grateful and you know, just like big warm smiles, and the kids are so excited because they're inside. I mean, my own kids. I mean, I have a, you know, except from one of them who's working out in the valley, like on a farm. My kids are home every day, all day long. So unless they FaceTime or they Zoom with their friends, they don't have any interaction with anybody but each other and us. And we like each other, but not that much. I think your ideas about that are all well considered, and I'll talk with Jamir about it tomorrow and Phil, and then I'll also talk more with the teachers about it.
Thank you, David.
David,
Is there any other
I wanted
board
to,
members who have comments?
before we go there, I just wanted to go back to Deborah's suggestion, specifically for the parents. And I don't know if Deborah meant it this way, but I think a direct connection with the teacher on a more frequent basis than the 2 or 3 times a year parent-teacher conference is really beneficial right now. And I'm not saying instead of all the other things you mentioned, but I don't know, maybe weekly. I mean, daily would be overload, but every couple of weeks, some kind of parent-teacher office hours type thing. It could range from, you know, I'm having technical issues to I'm struggling with schedule to I really want to talk about, you know, this academic thing in just a short window with a direct parent-to-teacher availability. If you could pull that off, I think would be powerful.
Thank you. In first, second, and third, that is absolutely happening because the teachers are reaching out to the kids at least twice a week, and they're doing that through the parent's phone. So the teachers are talking with the parents at least 2 to 3 times a week. Hello, this is Miss Kelly. I'm here. I'm calling to talk to Keyshawn. How are you? How's it going? You know, then usually the parent will say, is he doing all his work? Or, you know, is there anything I should be thinking about? Or the teacher might say, hey, great job on Dreambox, but I really need you to work with your daughter on iRead because she's not getting her minutes. And so it's happening first through third. And I know Brandon's calling, but it's not as regular because he's doing the Zoom, and LaShawn and Scott are doing Zoom. TKK, it's only been packets with Mary texting nonstop with parents. But starting Monday, Brandon's going to come on Monday between 10:30 and 12, and Mary is arranging for all the parents to come to pick up an iPad and a charger. And again, it will have on that Smarty Ants. I worked with, should have mentioned this, I worked with Shayla at the library and Mike Wood, and we're going to have Smarty Ants on every iPad. We're going to have Dreambox on every iPad, and we're going to have Epic Reading on every iPad. And then Mary will be able to be, when she conferences with kids via FaceTime with the iPad, she'll be able to also conference with parents. So I would say in every grade, we're having more contact. We're having weekly contact in one way or another in all of our grades. It's not as strong in middle school because most of our kids have phones. So LaShawn and Scott are speaking directly to the kids on their phone or via Zoom rather than through their parent. But that your point's well taken, and I will remind Scott and LaShawn that just because they can get to the kids directly doesn't mean that they shouldn't also get to the parents.
Yeah, David, I think what I was hearing, that it would lend itself to if there was some more intentionality. So teachers are calling every single parent at least once a week just to do a check-in.
Yeah, good feedback. I'm making a note about it right now.
Are there other comments from any other board member on Mr. Fanan's report?
This is Caroline. Something I found helpful is that I get emailed all of the assignments that my daughters are getting in high school. So that way, you know, I can be as proactive or slacking if I want, but I at least can ask, oh, you got this assignment from so-and-so, how's that going? And for maybe the middle schoolers, that would work.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, Caroline. I was typing down that note and I missed yours.
No worries. So for TAM high school, and maybe you already know this, but I get emails, copied on the emails from each of the teachers for the assignments that are going to my girls. And so I know what the assignments are, and I can just check in on them and find out what's happening. And I know since the parents don't email as much, maybe it's something you can do via Blackboard to the middle school parents to just have them at least know what the assignments are for their kids.
Yeah, I don't know, frankly, how they're communicating with parents in middle school. I do know in the younger grades. Today, I went to a few homes and for Miss Kelly in second grade, and after the kid came out, I FaceTimed with the child and the kid and the parent, and all three times, Miss Kelly said, "Can you please get the calendar and your schedule of work so we could look at it together?" And the kid went straight inside, and two of them went and said, "Mom, where's that calendar?" And she said, "Right over there." So I think that is happening, but I'll need to check on again. I think the only communication right now in middle school with parents is for the kids that are not engaged, and we need to now be also having that contact with parents whose kids are engaged. That being said, this has been such a huge learning curve that, and none of you are being critical of LaShawn and Scott, but I do want to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt because they've been working so hard just to make it work with the kids. But and then communicating with me, and I've in turn been communicating either directly with the parents or with Phil and Jameer about the kids that aren't doing what they need to be doing. But we also need to be reaching out to parents of the kids that are doing what they need to be doing to reinforce that.
Yeah, and mine was simply a suggestion. I think what you're doing, all the teachers, assistants, everybody, is just absolutely phenomenal. And so thank you for all of your hard work.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah, I agree. It's really, really wonderful. And I want everybody to be safe and carry on. Yeah. Wow.
Bonnie, did you want to pipe in?
Sorry, it was obviously muted. I just very inspiring. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Bonnie. I didn't hear anything but inspiring, so we'll take it.
Sorry. I just wanted to thank you very much. I think it's really inspiring how on top of things people are, and the great work that is being done with the students and your outreach, and just the whole team's outreach to the community. It's really wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Dr. Garcia, are there any body from the public that would like to make a comment?
Yeah, we have a few hand raises. Steve, can you unmute and put Jenny Schmidt on video, and after her comment, then Marilyn Mackle, and after her comment, then Barb Killy? You can put Jenny's video on too.
Yeah. Oh, we have to hear and see Jenny?
Consider yourself lucky. Start my video. It's me.
Jenny.
Hi, everybody. Some of my
Hello.
favorite people. So you know that like 2% of a Zoom meeting is actually spent on content. The rest of it is like checking out my house and realizing I have
Yeah.
right.
Right.
It's funny to see more, like the groups of grown-ups that I've seen on Zoom this week have been my co-teachers, because we met together, you know, my colleagues, we met together last week. We had a happy hour. And it's just, I took a couple of screenshots and then wanted to send the screenshots of the colleagues to the parents. And I had a hard time finding a happy hour shot that didn't have like a in it. So, you know, we're still trying to be a team by sharing in those kinds of moments. So it's nice to see everybody. I wanted to just give such a shout out to David for what he's managing. I'm managing, you know, my 18 kids, and thankfully, I have some support. You know, I've got 2 kids who are just really hard to reach, and I've got people helping me. So I can't imagine what it's like to have, to feel that pressure, to that desperation to reach the kids who need it the most. I do have kids that I have spent time with their moms and them, and teaching them both how to Zoom, how to hang up the phone and get on the Chromebook. And I just, I have so many things that I want to share, but it's tiring. And in listening to David talk about the importance of making sure curriculum doesn't slide and making sure the academics don't slide, I've been doing this 3 weeks now, so I'm a real pro. And what I've found is that I've had the same lessons posted for the 3 weeks. I'm doing it on Google Classroom, right? So every day I post a daily agenda, and every morning, and this is just how we're doing it. There's no judgment here. And every morning I've got, 14 kids popping on Zoom, but the thing that I'm teaching them is where to find the little button to click to answer the question that I'm asking, and let's all watch the numbers go up together in Google Classroom. Like, that's what we're working on. I feel like, you talked about not lowering standards, and I agree, but the standards right now are like all computer literacy, like interacting in this new way. And that's a really valuable skill that they're going to need over and over. And it's really been exciting to teach them the same thing every day, 3 days in a row, because it's where to find the button to push to submit your work. And I think that maybe after spring break, when we come back, we can start working a little more on the academics. And it hasn't just been teaching the kids, like even for the parents that are there, not even, for the parents that are there learning these skills side by side, everybody's growing. And it gives the parents this sense of purpose and ability. And like, I've had a mom, it's so beautiful. Sinai Simpo, Mia Sinai and her daughter Nina were working with me this evening on a math problem. And the conversation ended up being that the student understood the math and the mom just needed to talk about math anxiety. And like, you know, the connections that are happening are so valuable. And I realize that's not all of your students by a long stretch, to be able to have somebody at Zoom at 5 PM and, you know, it's very organized. But something is happening. And I think that it'll just take a little time. But I do think, to Josh's point also, that the regular is so important. You know, a regular Zoom scheduled meeting with kids is really valuable. That's all. I hope that was relevant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. You kept it under 3 minutes too, so thank you so much. I forgot to just let our community know that even though we're virtual, this is a board meeting, and we're going to try and not go to midnight. So thank you so much. Steve, who's up next?
Marilyn Mackle.
Thank you, Dr. G.
Can I be heard?
You can be heard.
Hello.
We can hear you. And if you would like to be seen, you can start your video.
But it's dark, Marilyn.
Turn on some lights. Gee.
Your glasses.
Really, is that her?
Can you hear me though?
Yes, we can.
Oh, that's great. Josh is on my screen and it's your voice. I'm confused.
Okay. Well, my internet is doing that, but I know it's unstable. So if I lose you, if you can't hear me, just let me know. I've missed so you know, during this time for some reason. Just a couple of things that I wanted to state. First, just really a huge gratitude. I've been hearing about what's been going on at the school, and it's been just I'm just grateful to hear the level of commitment and the level of work that's been going on for these past few weeks. It's significant, and it just kind of shows the sense of community that we do have here. I'm really hopeful that the fruits of your labor will show up, that you'll be it'll show up in significant and unexpected ways, hopefully. I'd like to ask if there's anything that I can do from my home on phone or computer. I'm willing to do that if there's any assistance that I can provide. I haven't been out in 6 weeks, really. And long before the stay-at-home order came, I got word that I should stay at home because of some risk factors. So then the orders came, and it was very clear to me that the person who warned me knew what was going to happen, and sure enough, it happened. But I'm willing to assist in any way that I can. So just keep that in mind. If you have some calls that need to be made, or you have some computer stuff that needs to be done, I'm here up the street, and I'm totally willing to do it. Certainly got a lot of time. So, and lastly, I'm hopeful that this partial settlement will bring from Willow Creek communication that's really at a higher level, a level that's that really connects with what's going on here, and that the vitriol, particularly that the vitriol does stop. I know the lawsuit isn't completely gone yet. Have questions about that, but you know, I'm learning too, and I'll wait and see what happens. But I'd like to see that the communication come out with a level that reflects integrity, high integrity of all parties. And then we can move forward with what the work that's before us to do. We'll know whether that's the case in the not too distant future, I hope, and wait and see is the posture that I'm frankly taking on this, and I'm very hopeful. But I just want to congratulate you, Dr. Otoko and David, Dr. Garcia and David. You're doing great work, and it's the leadership that's showing up here, and a community that's always been there ready to do the work and really being guided along in the path to get the work done. So I'm just appreciative. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Dr. Garcia, who's up next?
Barbara Kelly.
All right, Miss Barbara. Is her microphone on?
It is, and her video's starting.
It
Wonderful.
is. Hi, can you hear me?
We
I hear
can.
you.
Hi, Barb.
Yes.
I don't know why my video isn't on, but that's okay. Let's see. Host has asked you to. Okay. Hi, everybody. Really good to see you. And I just want to say, wow. Really, wow. I didn't raise my hand when Dr. Garcia was speaking because I wanted to wait and hear what David had to say too. And what you have accomplished in this amount of time is really incredible. I only have my own grandchildren and my son, who's a high school teacher, to compare with, but I don't think I ever would have thought I would say this, but you are so far ahead of my granddaughter's Huntington Beach Middle School district in terms of what you're providing the kids.
Can you send her a communication, let her know she's going out?
She has all her classes. As of now, she has to get up early. But you know, you how much? And my grandchildren in Atlanta are doing pretty much the kind of things you are, but it's at a private school where they're paying college tuition in order to do it. And you guys have just really nailed it. And you're already talking about the next level, like parent groups and getting really keeping the parents involved. It just seems like you have made this the realization of the community school model. I mean, I don't think I even knew what it looked like before this, but this seems like what it is. And I was talking to a neighbor today and telling her what you guys were doing, and she said, you know, those teachers and school people are heroes. They should be looked at the way that we're looking at the first responders and the medical community. And I think it's really true. So I just want to thank you. I only have one question, and that's whether you are picturing building the tutors into this at all. You know, one of the main functions that we serve as tutors is to show the kids that we have that somebody cares about them on a really regular basis, and the reading or math is the excuse for doing it. But I think I've heard from a lot of tutors that we'd really like to become part of the remote learning, you know, if we can. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Ida, can I respond to that?
Please.
Thanks, Barb. And I'm sorry about that meeting today. I was up at Building 79 and I forgot all about it. I was glad to be doing what I was doing, but when I got the text from Ellen at 45 minutes later, I was like, oh my God. So I will connect with you about rescheduling. I have a meeting tomorrow, a call tomorrow with Brisa and Deborah from 10,000 Degrees. I'm also connecting with Laura and Carl from Bridge the Gap. We talked on Tuesday and they asked to get back to me on Friday about how the volunteers at 10,000 Degrees and the teachers can be involved. And then I'm meeting with Deborah and Brisa tomorrow via Zoom to talk about how the 10,000 Degrees volunteers can be involved. And I spoke to Emily this morning at Willow Creek, and we're going to have a call next week with me, Emily, 10,000 Degrees, Deborah and Brisa, and Laura and Carl, which is essentially the education group that Jameer helped put a template, if you will, around. And we're going to have a call together to talk about best practices and then ways in which we can provide our volunteers with a way to be involved, whether it be calling kids and reading to them, having kids read to the volunteers, having volunteers kind of agree to case manage some specific kids, if you will, that seem to be drifting unless we do We're talking about doing daily check-in and check-outs with kids in the morning to get them up and how you doing, and here's the plan. Let's look at your homework. I'll call you back at 11 to see how it's going, and then I'm going to call you at 2 to make sure you're done. And the volunteers are ready and willing to be involved. So stay tuned for that. We just need to talk to Laura and Carl separately. Tomorrow's 10,000 degrees, and next week it's all of us together.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Hope that answered your question, Barbara. Are there any other comments, Itoko?
Yes, we have one more. We're going to unmute and turn on Betty Hodges, who is called in as Ruth's gift.
How did you know it was me?
Oh, I've got amazing powers these days.
I mean, like, how did you know that?
I got lots of secret helpers.
That is too funny. It's just the name of my computer. That's okay. Anyway, I just want to add my, I don't want to take much time. I just want to add my accolades to everybody else's in terms of the effort that all of the school staff, David, Itoko, and all of the other people, Jameer, Phillip, Trellis, everybody is putting in. I think it's great. I just want to offer, my passion, my concern in this time is really the parents. And so I was really happy when Deborah raised the issue about parents. We have a parent group who wants to help other parents do. I have a similar kind of conversation that Deborah referenced. And so I just wanted to let you know we want to work with you. We don't want to get out ahead of you, but we want to try to work with you to try to make sure there's that connection to parents. And then secondly, in terms of kind of setting up a kind of education-friendly schedule for their kids, I sent out today a webinar that's going to be recorded. I'm going to look at it because it may be the type of thing that can be shared with parents that give them a kind of structure that Joshua referenced when he was talking about in his earlier comments. So I just want to let you guys know I'm a little bit distant from Marin City, but I come in several times a week, and I just want to be helpful, and I want to have our HANA staff and our HANA volunteers be helpful, particularly around the area of parents and extra supported kids who might not be, that may not be as engaged in the work as they might be. So, thank you.
I think we lost you, Miss Betty.
Thank you, Betty.
I think we got the gist of it. What is that sound? Is there a spaceship about to land somewhere?
School board meeting via Zoom. Come look.
And we do have one more commenter, Ellen. Go ahead.
Yep. Hi, everybody.
Hello, Ellen.
Yes, Ellen Franz, staff member at Bayside MLK, and I want to say 3 things. Number 1 is about leadership, about David Fanan, about Dr. Garcia, and the leadership from the beginning of the shutdown of school, that we as staff members came on Monday not knowing what was going to happen. Everything was completely organized already. We all sat at our own separate tables, more than 6 feet apart, to hear about all of the things that could happen from here. And then we all went off and created things to send home with students. 107 out of 115 students at Bayside MLK came to pick up things on that Monday. And at least 2 of those students were out of town. So that's like, a very few kids and families who didn't come that day. And from that day, David and Dr. Garcia have been, I should say, Mr. Fanan and Dr. Garcia have been at school every day figuring out what to do to support students and families, from food distribution to food banks to ensuring that teachers are working with their kids in the best ways that they possibly can. Yesterday, I was able to be part of of two different events. One was a staff meeting that was called, in which all teachers worked together to figure out how to support children. And David said repeatedly, if you're not hearing from particular kids, let me know. And as you have already heard, he was out at doors today working with kids to help support them getting what they need from online distance experience. And then one other thing that I want to mention is that Jenny Schmidt, who spoke to you earlier, a 5th grade teacher at Willow Creek, and I were on the phone together trying to figure out, or working together to figure out, what do we all do, each and every person. She's doing all of the things that the 4th and 5th grade teacher at Bayside MLK is doing to support her students. I was on an online Zoom meeting yesterday with Brandon, is the 4th, 5th grade teacher's name, who is meeting with all of his kids. That's only one thing that he's doing, but one aspect of what he did yesterday on the 4th and 5th grade Zoom call at 10 a.m. was meeting with all of his students, and a parent was there asking a couple of questions. A younger sibling was bothering the student who needed to be paying attention, and the teacher was right there, Brandon, saying, he needs some space. And so within a couple of minutes, there was the student doing his work. David was on that phone call as well, as was Andrea, the coach, and we all read our books together for a half an hour. And that's just one aspect of what Brandon Cully was doing, and what I know Jenny Schmidt is doing, and what I know each and every teacher is doing to support the students and families. And so I just want to speak to the leadership for all of us and the way that is playing out in building a community school at Bayside MLK, and also is working toward our unification. There are many gifts here in what has happened, as well as so many challenges, but in the gifts, it is really amazing. And also, the final thing is about me being in touch with lots of students who are sending photographs of their artwork, and parents whom I know and whom we say hello and we, speak to each other briefly. Now because I write back to every student who writes to me, the relationship is deepening on a whole different level than when we just saw each other at the end of a Wednesday afternoon. So I just want to speak to how many gifts there are in the middle of all of these challenges. Thank you.
Ellen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I gave you some liberty there, but thank you for sharing.
Thanks, Ellen.
Thanks, Ellen.
Well
Are
said,
there
Ellen.
any other comments?
No other comments.
Okay.
Do we have Emily on this line?
We do not, but I'm going to give you an update that she sent me.
All right.
She said, I don't have an official update, but please share this on my behalf. I am extremely humbled by the incredible effort and partnership of our two schools in the service of our children and families in need. A big thank you to Mark and Brandon for working day and night to ensure that students from both of our schools are able to engage in distance learning. And a thank you to David for all the encouragement and support he has given to our families and volunteers.
Like it. I just wanted to point out, I'm sorry, David, I don't know if you disappeared, that was a great segment. I think it was probably the longest principal report that we have had in a while, but our kids are the central nervous system. And so I'm glad that all that effort is going on. I'm glad that Emily, piped in to see that this collective work is doing exactly what it should be doing, and that is great results for our kids. Are there any comments on Emily's brief report?
I see none.
Any from the board? All right. Itoko, that brings us to LCAP update.
Yes, I will keep it brief. We are working to refine the goals and actions of what I presented last month. They are about 3/5 finished. We will upload those into the tool and create the corresponding budget piece and bring them back for a draft of a complete LCAP at May's board meeting. I'll try to send them out to all the trustees before, so you have a chance to review them, as it's liable to be a lengthy report. And we still have some additional surveys out. We are going to survey our kids based on the LCAP goals that we have. And I want to share with the community that the obligation and timelines for the LCAP have officially been relaxed. We don't have a firm guidance from the state yet as to what they will be, although I believe we will have some firm guidance tomorrow around those goals and the LCAP process, as we know that we wouldn't be able to do our traditional town hall to get a final round of feedback from the community, for instance. That being said, and I actually expect the LCAP provision to be removed for this school year. That being said, it is our full intention to submit an LCAP, a complete 3-year LCAP, within the original timeline for this school year, so that we can remain in compliance with our Attorney General's settlement. What I may do, given where we are and given this discussion tonight, is to add a goal around distance learning. And I think that we would be well placed to have a plan for distance learning into next year, not just for the end of this year, and how to look at distance learning as an additional intervention for the next 3 years, even when school returns to normal function. And so unless anybody has any clarifying questions, that will conclude my update around the LCAP development.
I have a question, more of a request. I think it's great we're moving forward, particularly from a compliance perspective. If we feel like we're missing anything from not having that last round of feedback, I'm wondering if we could petition the Attorney General for some leeway as well, right? I mean, if the state's going to waive an LCAP piece, I'm not trying to be non-compliant, but just do a good job with whatever we put together.
I think we can, and I also think that, you know, as all of you know, the LCAP is a living document, and also gets revised on a yearly basis. So I think there's nothing stopping us from as soon as people can come out of their houses, doing our due diligence with that and continuing to revise and update. I think that we may get into some discussion and circumstance here about doing some extraordinary things with our school calendar or when school can be back in session. And so I think those are all discussions that we need to have with our community. And I definitely am in regular communication with the Attorney General, and we have gotten grace on certain other things. And so I definitely will reach out.
I'm assuming that the LCAP budget committee will be of some help in this process. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are there any questions from the public, Itoko?
None. Oh, wait a minute. Barb Kelly has a raised hand. Sorry. Barb.
Hi. I just wondered, in the absence of community input meeting, could there be any submission of written comments or ideas? I mean, we haven't seen any draft yet. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. But if we had, like, for example, you, just as a result of this experience, are talking about a remote learning line, if we have any ideas that have been in past ones that we'd be interested in, at least you entertaining, we could do that through writing.
Yes, we could, and we may need to have an LCAP Zoom town hall or something of that nature.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
That's an awesome idea.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, we're going to push forward here. This is a discussion information item 9.01. Itoko, can you give us some idea of what this is? And
I can. This is a request for hearing from Samantha Kelly, the teacher that was noticed of a possible layoff in our last board meeting. It is a regular procedural part of a layoff process, which she has the right to do. So basically, this means that if we were to continue with the layoff process, either in this meeting or in the May meeting, we would need to conduct a formal open hearing at an open board meeting prior to making any decision to lay off. I am happy to say that all of the items in 12 will remove the need to have the hearing that is requested, but we are complying with the laws around labor and with our collective bargaining agreements, and that's why it's posted here in the agenda.
thank you. Any questions from the board? Any from the public?
I see none.
All right. That was for information, so we're going to move on to consent. There was nothing that was pulled from this consent agenda. So we need to have a motion to accept the consent, and I believe consent is a roll call.
Correct.
I move approval of the consent agenda, or the consent. Yeah.
I'll second. This is Caroline.
It's been moved and second. Roll call. Is that going to be you, Dr. Garcia, or Steve?
It's going to be Mr. Ayala.
All right, Mr. Barrow?
Approved.
Ms. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Van Alst?
Yes.
Ms. Hoff?
Oh, she might be.
She's on mute. You may have to unmute her like you did.
I have just been unmuted. Finally, sorry. Yes, I'm saying yes. I've been trying to raise my thumb. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move along to 11.01. This is a resolution 781 for emergency actions by the superintendent. Dr. Garcia is an action item. Can you give us a little breath on what this is?
Yes, it is. I am recommending approval. It's a resolution to authorize emergency actions by the superintendent, or me. It's always odd to talk about myself in third person. But it recognizes the immediate public health threats posed by COVID-19 and the state of emergencies declared by our governor and our county officials, as well as our Department of Health. And at the time we posted this board agenda, the recommendation from the county was to shelter in place until May 3rd, and for us to keep schools closed until May 1st. As has been the nature of this crisis all along, that date has now shifted, and as has become very public by the state superintendent and the governor, it is unlikely that we will reopen school this year. We will make a countywide call, I believe, tomorrow or Monday in that regard, but we may need to update this resolution in that regard. It also resolves that we take care of the safety and health of employees and students, and cites health and safety code that I have the authority to ensure the health and safety of employees and students in the effect of any infectious disease outbreak, such as COVID-19, and that we have the authority to exclude students and staff from school in these kinds of events, and that adopting the stance of the state of California and the county of Marin is the right thing to do in terms of safety of students and staff. And so this resolution grants me to take the following actions without consulting the governing board, and ratifies the decision of the superintendent to close schools on March 16th through May 1st. And if anyone wants to make an amendment to make this be towards the end of the year, maybe we won't have to bring this resolution back.
Yes, I was going to suggest that.
I'd motion approval with the amendment that this resolution extends to the end of the academic year.
Second?
It's been moved in second. I believe this is a roll call.
You might
With
call for,
amended-
I don't know if there are any public comments before we vote. Doesn't
Yes,
look
thank-
like it.
Mr. Barrow?
Go ahead. Approve.
Ms. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Hoff?
Yes.
Ms. Van Alt?
Yes.
I love that echo, Steve.
Me too.
Yeah. Voice
Reverb is really cool. Nice
I'm
reverb.
like, Ms. Huff. All right. We're moving along here. Consider approval of an extension for Dr. Sadawire's contract. Dr. Garcia, can you bring everyone up to speed on this item, please? Thank you.
Yes, I am recommending approval of extending Dr. Satterwhite's contract. I apologize for this being an after the fact extension. When we originally contracted Dr. Satterwhite, we thought we would only have 3 DAG meetings. That turned into 5 DAG meetings, and under the original agreement, he did not properly allocate the amount of time that it would take to draft all of the minutes for 5 DAG meetings, or for the amount of time it would take to take notes at 4 DAG meetings and transcribe them. As reporting those minutes out to the Attorney General and the monitor was a requirement of the settlement agreement, I do recommend approval. It was key work. At the time that this was happening, I certainly didn't have any capacity to do this work, and I think it would have been virtually impossible for any other district staff member to do it. I apologize that this didn't happen before the fact, but Dr. Satterwhite actually did not reach out until the week of the last DAG meeting, and then took him some time to produce this expanded scope. This is well within the budgeted range that we set aside for AG fees, so it should not negatively affect our current budget projections.
You just answered my question. I was going to ask if this included money that was set aside, so yay. Any board comments? Any comments from the public?
See none.
We need a motion to accept this.
I move that we approve the extension of Dr. Satterwhite's contract.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Is that a thumb up on opposed, Josh? Or abstain?
No, it was a late thumbs up on approve. Oppose, I'll do
thank
this.
you. Gotcha. All right, we're going to move to 12.01. This is a withdrawal of layoff notice.
Yes, again, I am recommending that we withdraw the layoff notices, the layoff notice that we authorized at the last board meeting. I am recommending withdrawal because one of the silver linings of the COVID-19 crisis is that the Marin Community Foundation automatically renewed all grants at the same level as, at least the same level as last year. So while we did not expect to know what our grant award would be until May, we now have a 100% assurance that for the upcoming school year, we will at least have the funds that we had last year, which funds the instructional coaching position for us. And therefore, that allows us to rescind the layoff notice given to our first grade teacher that is referenced in the request for hearing in 9.01. And it is connected to the action item which follows it, 12.02. That also allows us to not only not lay off that one position, but it allows us to reassign our staff member, our instructional coach, who would have been at a regular teaching position, back into the instructional coaching position.
That's awesome. Board comment. Any potential comments from the public?
Our teachers union president gave us an applause with the reaction feature. I don't see a hand raised though, so I don't think that there's a request for comment.
Okay. This is an action item. Need to get someone to make a motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve.
It's been moved.
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We're moving on. 12.02, notice of assignment 2021 school year.
Yes, I again recommend approval, and this is just a notice of reassignment because we don't have to reduce the instructional coaching position, that our current instructional coach can continue on in that same position.
That's awesome.
Motion to approve.
Is there any public comment? No.
I see no public comment.
Second?
It's been moved in second. All in favor? Aye.
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 That's everyone. That brings us to committee reports. I believe that, is it, school unification? Is that, I think that's the sole report here.
That's correct. We did have some other meetings scheduled that were canceled due to COVID-19. So we will need to schedule a LCAP budget committee for the upcoming weeks. We will need to reschedule a facilities committee meeting for the upcoming weeks. And because those are not ad hoc meetings, they need to be noticed in board docs. So whenever we have consensus with the committee members, we will then publicly notice those meetings. Much like this one, they will be held over Zoom. But the only committee that met is the ad hoc policy committee, and I will defer to, not the ad hoc policy committee, but the ad hoc school unification committee, and I will defer to Trustee Turner and Ben Alst to give that update.
It was a good meeting. There was a new board member from the Willow Creek Academy who joined us. I'm sorry, at this hour I cannot remember her name, but Alex, I think, is the short version, and her presence and contribution was beneficial, and we spent time reviewing the legal opinions that we requested, and that was also a beneficial process. I look forward to that group meeting again. Caroline?
Nope, perfect summary. Thank you. I agree.
Okay, good, thanks.
That's awesome.
It seems so long ago. I must
Yeah,
you know,
agreed.
it really does. Yep.
Thank you so much for that extra energy, because yeah, it's a lot. We got to get Josh on the committee.
Yes.
And soon.
All right.
All right, folks, that brings us to future meetings, and I just wanted to confirm, Itoko, that our next meeting is May 14th.
Before we move on, I had a question about the last topic.
Oh, yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is it possible? I don't know if we've already received this, but is it possible for the entire board to see those legal opinions?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
I'm just out of curiosity. I'd love to understand what's already been developed.
Yeah, I'll send those out. I don't, Caroline, Deborah, I don't, there's, it's information. As long as we're not communicating about it and making decisions, I don't think there's anything wrong with sharing information.
Yeah, I agree.
I was sort of I was sort of thinking it had already happened, but I guess not, so.
Yeah, I wondered that maybe it had and I missed it, but thank you.
I think Willow Creek maybe shared it among their board members. I don't think we've done that yet.
Okay.
Thanks, Heather.
Oh, thank you. Those conversations are not the ones that have already been held. The legal conversations that you guys are going over.
Well, only Deborah and Caroline have been a part of that, and without joining the conversation, I just wanted to get up to speed on the information.
Yeah, these are letters from various attorneys opining on structure and finance and that kind of thing for unification.
Oh, okay, yes, thank you. Now I remember. All right, thank you. That would be great.
So, let me just to refresh my memory. Bonnie, have you seen those opinions? Is Bonnie there?
She's not muted
Still
again, is she?
muted.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Steve is doing a great job keeping me quiet, but no, I haven't seen those opinions.
You didn't see those?
I have not.
Okay, then. Okay. I thought we'd sent them, not the ones even just from the district council. No.
I have not seen them. No.
Okay. Wow. I thought okay.
Okay, yeah, that's a new twist. These are legal opinions from people who are just piping in on how unification should look like.
They were legal opinions from our from the district's attorney, from Willow Creek's attorney, Paul Minnie, and then from a third neutral law firm. And so it's 3 takes on what the structural options are.
Got it.
And what are the impacts of different structural selections?
Right.
Like as far as legal and funding and, kind of approval process and that type of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you for circling back, Josh. Thank you for clearing that up, everyone. Did you want to add?
I just want to suggest, maybe it's worth it, I don't know, to just run it by Sue Ellen to make sure that this is all fine, and in sending it out to the entire board, just make sure that we don't do a Brown Act violation in any kind of email response to the, just make sure we don't get off kilter.
I do know in the unification town hall meetings, there was some discussion around that the lawyers were, kind of talking about this process. So I don't see how it might very well be a Brown Act violation when that was the discussion that was held during the unification town hall meeting.
I don't think it is, but I'm happy to check with council. I think what's important is that there's no interboard discussion about the information that doesn't occur at an open board meeting. But as long as you get the information and read it offline, I think it should be fine. But I'll clarify with district council. Tarina, do you want to have an opinion on this?
Spot on. That's exactly right. I don't see any reason why you can't share the opinions, but there just can't be any cross conversation between trustees.
It's just like any other topic, budget, LCAP, anything, same rules.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So we're going to push forward unless there's other comments.
Oh, just to answer your question and clarify, the next regularly scheduled board meeting is May 14th.
All right, thank you.
Do we have 2 meetings that month?
No, we have 2 meetings in June.
In June, okay. All right.
We might have another one. This is probably the way we should go. Zoom for the rest.
I prefer this. This is awesome.
This year and moving forward. On future topics, Itoko, I just want to circle back on what I mentioned during board communications, and that is just what it might look like to have school on Saturdays, to start earlier, to do year-round school, because I do fear, like others, that some of our kids are going to regress in their learning. And I mean, you guys are doing a lot of great things to make sure that doesn't happen. But fact of the matter is, between now and June 12th or whatever date that is, of not having the same type of contact that kids have with teachers and staff and each other, we're going to lose, the motivation from not only kids, but families too.
I will make sure that I add it to my ongoing discussions with all the parties that are involved in making agreements around calendars and adjustments, and we'll bring it up in cabinet. We'll make sure that it's at least a discussion item on the next meeting agenda.
I'm assuming that you mean like folding it into the Freedom School that is in other summer programs and how that all can fit together into a robust, face-to-face. Hopefully that will happen, be possible. I don't know, maybe not.
For sure, using all the community partners, because there's Community Action of Marin, the Horizon Community School. So
we'll have a district administered after school program. I think this is a really important discussion for our community to have. And I think if we do make any modification to a traditional school schedule, then it's critical that we're providing childcare and activities intersession for when school is not in session.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Okay.
Are we on future topics?
Yes.
I don't know if it's for the whole board or perhaps forming some committee. I just feel like as overloaded as we are, there's an opportunity to continue to get even further ahead on remote instruction. To be prepared for, the next time something like this may or may not happen. To be prepared for the possibility of we're not back in session over the fall. And frankly, there's perhaps even an intersection with the desegregation order and maybe even with unification timelines. So, I just had so many thoughts of what's possible, almost these many potential silver linings of this circumstance. I don't want to overload the teachers. I don't want to overload our administrators, but there's a lot of potential things that we could brainstorm on. Probably a board meeting's not the right format, but maybe a superintendent committee. And I'd love to lend whatever support I can to that type of effort.
I agree. Thank you. I'll look at.
Superintendent.
Looks like I'll need to form a couple superintendent committees, but I totally agree, and I think that whenever school does start back up, we have to be thinking about how to make up any ground that's been lost to this shutdown. And I think that blended learning is a really critically important tool.
Well,
I think Josh has found himself on the committee.
Possibly at a superintendent's invite. I'm not even thinking about loss. I mean, that's one side of it, and that needs to be addressed. But I'm thinking about the gains that are possible.
Yeah.
There's so many things that are different when you're virtual. We talk about the issues of holding kids back or skipping grades, trying to deal with differentiated learning requirements in a single group of kids. And the whole world changes when you're in this circumstance. And there's a lot of negative, but there's so much potential that I just don't know that people are getting ahead of right now. So.
Oh, you're absolutely right. David didn't talk about it a lot, but it is something that we've had a discussion at length on here in Cabinet, which is that this school model is actually working really, really well for some of our students. The folks that are in that group, to one degree, are all the kids here that one might expect to be in that group. And then there's another group of kids who are doing really, really well, that are outperforming what they normally do during regular school.
Wow.
Yep.
And then there's another group of kids that this is really challenging for. And I think you're absolutely right, Josh. We have an incredible opportunity to accelerate learning for all of our students, but particularly for some kids that you know, sometimes maybe have challenges with learning at the same pace as all of their peers, or needing to sit in a classroom for a long block of time, but not being able to get up and move around, for instance. And I also think, you know, even if we missed no days of school, simply as an intervention tool for evenings and weekends and winter and summer, there's a huge acceleration opportunity that we have yet to take advantage of.
That's awesome.
That was it for me.
I think that's a great idea.
Agreed.
Yeah, really great. Yeah, makes sense.
Any other topics for future meetings? Speak up or forever hold your peace.
Okay.
How long is this remote meeting style an option?
And until the shelter in place order is lifted, or until there is no longer a public health recommendation around social distancing.
So June 2021 is out of the question, huh?
But we could probably do study sessions this way, right?
We are going to need to do our committee meetings this way, study sessions, any meeting that is normally subject to the Brown Act while there is a social distancing public health order in place by the governor or our local county, we can meet this way.
Gotcha.
But after, we cannot. That's
No.
all right.
Only superintendent or ad hoc committees. Superintendent committees or ad hoc committees could meet this way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
All right, folks. That brings us to the daunting 15:03. Adjourn this meeting.
Move we adjourn.
Move, who said move by Bonnie? Move by Deborah, second by Bonnie.
No, moved by Caroline, second by Bonnie. Right?
All right.
Right.
Yep.
All in
Yeah.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Toko.
Bye.